Hello, welcome to Serendipity. My name is Sarah and today I thought I'd do a quick garden tour. Today's March 31st and I should have done this video a while ago, but there's no better day than the present. So I want to show you guys what's happening in my garden. A lot of things are barely starting to grow. I feel like it's full and empty all at the same time. So let's just get started. This is the entrance. Here you can see I have the two planters that I made, as you can obviously tell. My Bogambilia is looking okay. I feel like it's just gone through a lot. It's been transplanted twice now, so I feel like it just needs time to recover, but there is some new growth. If I come in closer, you guys can see that. I did go ahead and add some shredded wood mulch to it because the days are just too hot and I don't want to have to water it that often. Bogambilia doesn't necessarily need a lot of water, but either way, it's not good to let it dry out. So that's what that looks like. Hopefully this year it climbs quite a bit because it's got a long ways to go. This whole trellis is just for my Bogambilia. And the reason I have a Bogambilia in my garden is because my mom used to have one in front of her house and she passed away last year in January, and I want to include plants that remind me of her so that I can get those little pieces of memories back. Moving on to this other side of the trellis, I just used to have a few zinnias and I had planted some Alyssum. However, I wound up transplanting my peas rose over here because I had it in a different part of my garden. You guys have seen it in a previous garden tour and it was doing horribly. I actually lost every other rose that I had there. There's actually one that's barely holding on, but this one was also declining rapidly. After I transplanted it, it immediately started putting out new growth, as you can see here. Whereas before, all the canes were just starting to die back. So I had to make a quick decision and I decided to transplant it over here as a last effort to save it. And I feel happy that I did because it's starting to thrive again. And this rose is currently my favorite in the garden because it's a beautiful yellowish soft pink rose. It's beautiful and the blooms are huge, bigger than my hand, and I have pretty big hands. So I really love that. This pot held another rose that just didn't make it. Excuse my garden glove right there. Here I have two citrus trees. This one right here is my Cara orange. It's looking incredible. I actually wound up adding a few more stakes to it because it was really top heavy. It was falling over and it was growing really crooked. So this is my attempt to get it to stand up straight. It was just staked with one pole when I first bought it, and I think that's why the trunk isn't as stable as it could be. This one right here is my Mandarin tree. If you look closely, there's a few blooms throughout. It actually had way more, but I took them off because it hasn't been in this pot for a full year. I planted it last year. I'm not sure if it was around September or October, but it went through a lot and I feel like it's not ready for it to fruit yet. I'm gonna wait until next year. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the blooms that it still has. I guess I missed those, but I want to make sure that it establishes good roots before it starts trying to put out fruit. Over on this side, I have my bear's lime tree. This tree was so bald just a few months ago and it has put on so much growth. All of these leaves are pretty much brand new leaves. If I come in closer, I can count the old leaves that it had. Like even this one is brand new. Pretty much all of the old leaves already fell off because it went through a lot with the heat of last summer and then this past winter, and all of this is brand new growth. So I'm very happy about that. This one right here is a ruby red grapefruit. It's not doing that bad, but it's also not doing that great. If you look closely, it's got a little bit of yellow in the leaves. But I will say I'm going to wind up transplanting this into a plastic pot and I'll explain that in a different video. But for now, this is what it looks like. And this is one of my other rose bushes that I'm trying to save. As you guys can see, it's turning brown, but there is still a little bit of green. I haven't cut it back because I've been cutting it back and I feel like every time I do, more and more of it keeps turning brown. So I'm just gonna leave it alone for a little bit and see what happens. Okay, so then once you step into the garden, I'm gonna start with this bed. Here I have some lettuces growing. I have a squash. I have some nasturtium, which is really funny because I never intended to grow nasturtiums before maybe like a month ago. I never intended to grow nasturtiums because they never really interested me. However, once I started actually gardening and dealing with aphids, I watched a video from Kevin from Epic Gardening talking about how nasturtiums are a great plant because the aphids all go to the nasturtium plants and they will pretty much leave your other produce alone, or any of your other plants alone. And once I heard that, I was like, okay, I need this plant in my garden. But since I've never grown one before, when they started popping up, I was about to pull them out. I was like, oh my gosh, there's weeds in my garden beds. But nope, it was a nasturtium. And the reason I freaked out is because in my video about irrigation, you guys might see that there's this huge weed in my garden bed, and I was tending to that thing because I thought it was chamomile. You guys, I've been taking care of a weed for the last few months, waiting for it to bloom. And had I not pulled it out, it would have dropped weed seeds everywhere. And the only reason I found out it was a weed was because in my front yard there was a few weeds growing, and there was a bunch of them just like that one. So that was really embarrassing. So that's why when I saw the nasturtiums pop up, I immediately freaked out and I thought it was another weed. I feel like nasturtiums grow pretty big, so I might wind up transplanting it somewhere else because that's not where I put it. But before I laid the mulch down, the seeds were kind of just, I guess, being washed away because I was just watering them directly sometimes. So we'll see what happens there. But we have a few more lettuces, a few green onions. These onions are actually what's left over from some store-bought ones. So once I used them up, I came and I stuck them in my garden and they started growing, which makes me very happy. I have a few flowers here. I believe those are snapdragons, but I might be wrong, guys. When it comes to flowers, I'm a total noob. I don't know what's what. I also have some chives, and I have a lot of things seeded. Some of them just haven't popped up, and you guys can see my irrigation pipes, but I am going to add a little bit more mulch. I added a thin layer just to insulate the soil a little bit because before this it was completely bare. What I'm using to insulate my soil is actually some shredded mulch. You can also use straw, but shredded mulch is what I decided to go with and what I've seen other people in Arizona using as well. So I feel comfortable using that. Okay, here I have my broccoli plants. These things are huge, but they're definitely bolting because it's just way too hot for them right now. What I've been doing is picking off the little bunches as they come up, but literally these were tiny yesterday and they're already spreading out. And what I've learned is when they start to spread out, they're ready to go to flower and they don't taste as good. So I might just have to pull these plants out. But before I do, I want to harvest the leaves and use them in things like tofu scramble because they taste really good. Here I have some more carrots, and I also planted some ginger, but I don't think it has popped up yet. I'm excited for it though. The same thing here. There's a few lettuces popping up, a few carrots, some more nasturtiums, and the same goes there. So that's why I feel like, that's why I feel like the beds are kind of empty because I have stuff planted. It just hasn't fully come up yet. But this is something very exciting for me. This is my Thompson's green grapevine from Nursery. I showed you guys the unboxing of it, and this is what it looks like right now. So when I received it, it was just a stick with roots, and it has definitely taken off and is now bigger than the other grapevines that had already leafed out before I even planted this one. So that's very exciting. Climbing on this portion of the trellis, I have some sugar snap peas, which are on their way out. There's something actually chewing on them, but it's fine. We're still harvesting peas, and as long as they're not touching my grapevines, I don't mind as much right now. So this is the next bed, and this one is pretty full actually. So here I have some cilantro that's bolting already. It was not this big even yesterday. I feel like every day, as long as it's hot, it just basically doubles in size. And if I come in closer, you can start to see some of the little flowers. They're so beautiful. And it actually is way more fragrant now that it's starting to bolt. But it does have, I feel, a little bit of a bitter aftertaste for my liking. But it still tastes pretty good. You could still utilize it. What I'm going to do is let some of it go to seed. That way I can save it for next year and then continue to save the seeds so I never have to buy some again. Here I have parsley, which is huge and taking over a huge portion of my bed. I didn't know it got that large, but I do have a few plants there as well. So That's also my fault. That's why I started doing the square foot gardening method, is because I was just overseeding everything. And next to it I have some Alyssum. I'm obsessed with Alyssum, you guys. It is just so beautiful, and I feel like it looks so dainty and elegant all at once. Here I have some Pansies. These have been transplanted maybe like 3 times at this point, and they're still holding on strong. They are wilting a little bit with the heat, but they still look so beautiful, and I initially bought that plant for my son. Next to the Pansies, I have some bush beans. I believe those are the burgundy bush beans. The reason I put those there is so that I can utilize up all the space, but they also don't interfere with my climbing rose. And I have quite a bit of them right there. And then some more Nasturtium. I don't know how it got there because I do not remember putting it there. Oh, here's the tag. So it's a royal burgundy bean. And I planted it the 15th, and this is what they look like right now. Down the middle of this bed, I have some tomato plants. I have different varieties. This one up here is actually pretty small compared to the other ones. I feel like it just wasn't getting as much sun, but as the days continue to warm up, I feel like it'll just catch up immediately. There's another one. I just have about 5 tomato plants that are going to be trellised up these stakes. I initially was going to do the Florida weave method, and then I remembered that I'm very short, and there's no way that I'll be able to do this from here, especially since these are raised garden beds. I didn't think about that until afterwards, and so I went ahead and attached some rebar tie wire so that I can just tie the plants to that. Over on this side of the garden bed, I have a giant Mammoth Sunflower. Last year I tried to plant several sunflowers and they all died, so I figured I'd try again this year at the correct season, and I'm excited because it's actually doing pretty good. And then next to it I have an early white bush scallop squash, which I've never tried before, but I thought it looked like an interesting variety, and it's not something that you can find in store, and I love squash no matter what, so I'm excited to try it. Some more Nasturtium. I don't know why they keep popping up everywhere. Here I have a few more flowers and some celery. I didn't realize how long celery takes to grow because I planted this last year, back in maybe, I don't remember, but it was earlier last year, and it's still pretty small. So I might just have to take it out because when it heats up too much, it gets bitter, and I'm not trying to save seed from it yet. So I'm going to take it out so that I can utilize the space for something else. Actually, right now I have some Scarlet Nantes carrots planted, but I feel like the celery has to go. I have some spinach that's starting to pop up, so I'm going to try and harvest as much as possible and use it in our meals so that it doesn't start bolting because it's getting really hot. But I also have some cucumber here, some winter cucumber. And then over here, I have, oh, I don't have the tag. Over here, I believe I have some more beans. Next to that, I have some wildflowers, which look so beautiful. Like the petals are just stunning. And then there's some more over there. And I feel like the colors on them almost look iridescent to me. And I forgot to show you guys this, but if I step back, I actually have 2 more trellises, one right there and one right here, that are not just regular arches. They cross at the top, as you guys can see there, so that all the vines will start crossing over and create this dome effect without it being just a regular arch. I made these out of remesh panels and some rebar tie wire, and I'm going to show you guys how I did that in another video, but it was really inexpensive. For this entire trellis, it was under $10, and if you just need one, I feel like it's a really good option. I really like it because it's not as wide as the cattle panel, so I'm still able to get around and harvest things without it being in my way. Whereas with the cattle panel, it's so wide that I can't really get through, and I'm kind of limited on what I can plant because I'm too short to reach around it. So so I feel like this is a great option. It's a really cute DIY, so I'll be filming that in another video. But in the middle of this garden bed, I have some red roses, some Don Juan climbing roses, and they are starting to bloom, and oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. I do need to stay on top of the aphids though, because they're starting to pop up everywhere, along with ants, and so I've been spraying them with neem oil, although I try to avoid it because I feel like it affects the bloom. Sometimes they get like, sometimes they look like they're kind of burnt, and I don't really like that, so I'm trying to avoid it as much as possible. I also have some peas climbing up on there, which are starting to come to an end, and I don't really mind because that way the rows can take over without being crowded out. The only thing is that I want to save seeds, but as you guys can see, these are pretty short, which wouldn't be that big of an issue, except for the fact that my kids can reach these, so I can't really save any seeds from them because they keep them picked pretty clean. So I'm trying to save seeds from the vines that are really tall, that way they can't reach them and I can actually let them dry up on the vine. Moving on to this garden bed, I have some spinach and some flowers. I don't remember which kind. I have one tiny little eggplant right there, which I hope makes it. This one right here is a habanero pepper. I actually bought this as a start from Lowe's because I didn't have any habanero seeds, and I figured I would just buy a start so that I could get some this year, and then I will order some seeds online so that I can start some for the next season on my own. Because it's way more economical if you start them yourself, because you get way more plants for about $2 to $3, and you don't even use the entire packet of seeds, whereas this plant was about $4. So if you want to save money, start from seed. So then climbing up this trellis, I have some lake pole beans, something like that. This trellis I actually made out of an old dog pen and then used that same tie wire around it just to hold it in place because I felt like that would be a little bit more sturdy, and it's been working pretty good. That's what it looks like. Over on this side, I have a mystery pepper. Oh, the same goes for over there. That's a mystery pepper. But these are actually from seeds that I planted last year, and nothing ever came up because I planted them in the heat of summer. But over the winter, I guess they must have come up, and they were protected by all the other vegetables that I had here, which were a lot of root vegetables. They had really huge foliage, and when it came time to harvest them to clean up the bed, I found these little peppers. So I don't know what variety they are because I didn't have the tags anymore, but I'm excited to see. Over here, I have some gray zucchini squash. In Spanish, we call them calabacitas, just like those light green ones that almost look striped, and those are my favorites, so I'm excited to grow those. I know that I have two there. I'm going to thin them out and remove one of them. I just want to see which one will survive. I planted some more beans here, and I need to cut back some of this chicken wire. The reason I have it down is because there are some cats that get in my garden beds, and in the past, every time I would seed my garden beds, they would come and dig everything up, and it was a constant struggle. So the chicken wire really helped to keep them away, but now that I have the mulch, I feel like maybe that's also going to help so that they don't mess with my garden as much. Okay, and then let me show you over here. This right here is another bare root grapevine from Nursery. This is a flame seedless, and it is so beautiful. Look at that. It's gorgeous. Leaves are huge, and it was also just a stick when I received it, and now it's growing so much. Here I have some, what is this? Some Brussels sprouts. I don't know if I'll be able to harvest them, but I'm going to try. The same goes for here. This is some more Brussels sprouts, and the rest of this is kind of empty. At the front of this other garden bed, I have a lot of sugar snap peas climbing up, and these actually got pretty huge, and they have quite a bit on them. As you can see here, my kids and I come out here and harvest them all the time. I use them in stir fries and in noodles, and they're really good. And more than anything, they love to eat them just raw off the vine. So the plants produce quite a bit because we're always picking them, and the cool thing is the more you pick them, the more it produces. Over here I have some flowers. You guys will have to tell me what variety these are because I can't remember. I planted so many, I just sprinkle seeds everywhere. But here's a good one right here. This one isn't as spent, but it's still really pretty. I have, let's see, what kind of tomato is this? This is a San Marzano tomato, and it's hanging in there. It was an extra that I had from some that I seeded that I wasn't able to train up my other trellises, and it's doing really good. Over here I have some onions that are doing amazing. I've harvested them several times, and Some of them are bulb onions, so I'm gonna have to double check and make sure that I don't have a ton of bulb onions growing underneath, but I do love harvesting the tops and throwing them in spring rolls, sushi, pretty much everything. Over here I have some sugar baby watermelons that are going to climb up this trellis, and some chamomile. So this is actual chamomile, right guys? The foliage on the weed that I was taking care of for months looked very similar, but it didn't have that good of a smell. It smelled kind of weird. That should have been my first sign, but this I believe is actual chamomile because there's a sign right there that says German chamomile. Over here, I don't know if this one's gonna make it, most likely not. This was a Kajari melon. So this one right here is a Kajari melon, which doesn't look like it's doing too good. The reason I planted those is because Jess from Roots and Refuge Farm always raves about them. They are a variety of melons that is very dear to her, and I wanted to try them because they sound like they're really good. I started this one from seed indoors and it was doing good, but then all of a sudden it just started wilting. I'm not sure why, and I don't know if it'll make it, but I do have another one right there that seems to be doing better. It is so hot out here, but just in case neither of those make it, I did direct sow a few other seeds just in case, just to give them a better fighting chance of survival, because I want to try one of those melons. I planted some last year, I didn't get any, so I'm trying again this year, and I have a few more seeds left, so in case I don't get any this year, I can try again next season. But I really hope that they make it because they're a melon that I've been wanting to try for months now. I believe these are a table queen squash, which is also a really cool looking one. And yeah, I have beans popping up everywhere, you guys. I did plant some Roselle over here. I planted 1 per square foot. Roselle does grow pretty big, so I'm going to try and keep it manageable. I'm also going to sow some in some grow bags. That way it has its own space and I can move it around if I feel like it's starting to get too huge. But none of it has come up yet, which makes me really sad. I've also tried germinating some inside because I really want Roselle this year. In my family, we drink it pretty much every single day. You can drink it any time of the year, but especially during the summer, we like to drink it almost as an iced tea, where you boil it, let it soak, you add sugar to it and ice, and it's so good. It's a little bit tangy, but also sweet, and it's got a very distinct flavor. I love it so much, so I can't wait to grow my own Roselle or Jamaica so that I can, you know, dry some and make it into drinks, but also share some with my family. I have a lot of carrots here. These are all rainbow carrots that I seeded in a past video. I don't remember which one, but it was a while ago. And they are looking so huge and lush, and I probably seeded these a little bit too close as well, but I feel like it's too late now to to thin them out. The thing is, my son also thinned them out for me. As you can see here, there's a few remainders of the damage he caused, but before they were even ready, he had pulled out, I'm not even kidding you guys, maybe like 20 plus little baby carrots a few weeks ago. So I've been trying to make sure that they don't mess with them as much so that they can actually grow to maturity, because my daughter is really excited to see some rainbow carrots. Here I have some more, oh yes, that's right, you guessed it, Nasturtium. Next to it, I have a tiny little Habanero Pepper. I hope it makes it because it's really small, but we'll see. Here I have some more sugar snap beans that I'm letting go to seed. Whatever I can let go to seed. I actually had one that I was kind of hiding around here. Oh, look right here. There's one that's drying up. Maybe it's ready to pick actually. I'm probably gonna get maybe like 1 or 2 seeds from that. Moving on, here I have some Cracker Jack, I believe is the name. Marigolds, which are so beautiful. I had never seen these in stores, or maybe I had, but I just never paid attention. And I feel like they're so beautiful. Now I want to grow all kinds of different colored marigolds, if that's even a thing, because the petals on them are just so gorgeous. I'm obsessed with these. Every time I come out here, I feel like they catch your eye right away and they add such a beautiful pop of color. And over here, can you guys see more roses are popping up, and there's a few more buds here, but you can also see some crazy little aphids. They drive me nuts. But I need to stay on top of them. I also have some more sugar snap peas, which actually get really tall. I had no idea because previously when I had planted them, I didn't give them enough support height-wise, and they didn't get that tall. And I feel like the more structure you give them, they just keep climbing and climbing, as long as they have something to hold on to. Over here, I have a row of tomatoes as well. Most of these are determinate, but there are maybe 1 or 2 indeterminate that I'm trying out. I just don't think they grow very well here in Arizona. But look at these. Oh wait, what is this? I thought it was gonna be a flower. Nope, never mind. But over here, there are a few flowers. How beautiful. So I've been trying, I still have to go in and do some more, but I've been taking off the bottom leaves from my tomato plants because when I water them, I want to make sure that there's no chance for them to get any sort of fungus or bacteria or rotting at the trunk or at the base. So I'm trying to make sure that there's not too many leaves down low close to the ground. So I just go through and cut those off, and then I just toss them on top. And I also try and make sure to stay on top of all the suckers, because these grow suckers from one day to the next, and once those suckers start taking off, sometimes it's hard to tell what's the main stem and what's a sucker. Over here, I have some more rainbow carrots. They look so beautiful. Same for here. I don't know what this is, but I hope it's not a weed. And then this right here is another Habanero pepper. No, is it? Yeah, this right here is another Habanero pepper. Something was getting to it, but I did recently transplant it maybe like 1 day ago. Is this something growing here? What is this? What did I sow here? See, before I did the square foot gardening method, I was just tossing seeds around like crazy and then putting down labels, but then my kids would come and then they would take off the labels. So now I'm not sure what some of these things are, which is going to be a nice little surprise. But this little pepper I bought as a start as well. Actually, the other pepper that you guys saw, the other habanero, did I say habanada? This is a habanero pepper, but both of them came in one little pot, so I separated them just so that I could get 2 plants for the price of 1, and both of them seem to be doing okay right now. I don't have anything sown here. No, yes I do. No, I don't. I don't have anything sown here because I plan on putting the other trellises here once I make them. So once I actually go in and start sowing things, I'll show you guys that process. And then this is my last garden bed. I'm so out of breath, you guys. The sugar snap peas on this bed are the most beautiful ones in my entire garden. Look at these, and they are filled to the top with sugar snap beans. Did I keep saying beans this whole time? Sugar snap peas. But they look so beautiful, and I had no idea they got that tall. They're taller than my husband now, and he's really tall. He's 6'3", so he's probably the only one that's going to be able to reach those easily, but that's good because now my kids can't take all of them. Over on this side, I have a bolting lettuce. I really liked this red leaf lettuce, so I'm just letting it go to seed. That way I can save some for next year. And then this is a Thompson green grape from Walmart. $5, you guys, and it's doing pretty good. It hasn't progressed as much as the Nursery ones, but the root systems on the Nursery grapevines were crazy. These had a lot of buds, but not as much root systems, but for $5, that's still pretty good. The rest of this bed is pretty empty, except for nasturtiums that just keep popping up everywhere. Oh my gosh, same here. And then this is an okra that I started from seed indoors, which okra like to be direct sowed, so I don't know how it's gonna do, but I did plant some more over on this square foot. I'm just waiting for it to pop up. Here's another little extra tomato plant that I had, so I popped it right here, and I'll just have to add a tomato cage of some sort or some sort of support once it starts getting a little bit bigger, but it's doing really good right now. Here I have some more gray zucchini squash. I really need to add other varieties, but I really love calabacitas, so that's why I keep adding this one. Wait, what's this? What is this? Oh no, I don't know what that is. Okay. Here at the front, I have a few flowers and snapdragons that are finally getting a little bit bigger, and they look so gorgeous. I'm really happy with them. And then back there, I had some basil, but something started eating it. I'm not sure what. I also tried to direct sow some, but I feel like it's a little bit too late for that. And the same thing goes for this trellis, you guys. I had a bunch of watermelon growing and starting to pop up, and I'm not sure if it was birds or what, but as soon as it would pop up, maybe a day or two later, it was gone, and it literally looked like something had bitten it right off the stem. So I'm thinking it was probably birds. Oh wait, did I show you guys my other grapevine? Let me just show you real quick. This is my flame seedless grape from Walmart as well, $5, and it's looking amazing, just like the other one. The only thing is, it's not growing as fast as the Wamic grapevines, but then again, the Wamic grapevines were more established. So then over here, I have the two planters that I actually had at the front of my garden a few months ago, and they're covered up with this really ugly little shade setup that I put up because they're housing my strawberries. So if I pull this back, you guys can see how beautiful those look. I have some keynote strawberries and some seascape strawberries, and they've put out runners, and they're actually producing so many berries. Look at that. This one has a ton of blooms. I need to make sure that my peas don't strangle them, but they look amazing. Now this is what I'm really excited about. Look at this, it's turning red. My kids constantly ask me if they're ready to be picked, and I feel like one of these days I'm gonna come out and they're gonna be gone. So I'm trying to protect them as much as possible. So I have them covered up for now because it's getting too hot here in Arizona. Okay, so that's the end of this little garden tour. I have a ton of trees from my little tree orchard that I want to show you guys, but I actually just ran out of time, so I'm going to do that another day in a separate video. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little garden tour of pretty much my vegetable garden, and you guys can see what happened in March and what it looks like. That way you guys can get another update next month and see the progress. But sorry, I'm so out of breath. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.